Thank you. Thanks, Chloe. Good afternoon. I'm Sam. I'm Invention Lead at Mindshare, part of the WPP network, and one of the founding members of Unstereotype Alliance Australia. And before I begin, I'd like to call out that this session does include discussion of issues around social equity and around discrimination. So of course, feel free to step out for a minute if you need to do so. And today, I'm going to be sharing one simple question. A question that is worth $1 billion to the Australian economy, but a question whose value to society is truly immeasurable. This is a question that has the power to transform our industry and the lives of millions of Australians that currently feel unseen and unheard in our media landscape. Because every single day, millions of people experience the work that we create, the ads we place, the content we produce, the partnerships we build, and they don't see themselves represented. So a study that the Unstereotype Alliance conducted in partnership with WPP, IPG, and Ipsos uncovered a really, really stark reality. 59% of Australians told us that they believe discrimination remains widespread in our society. And whilst 59% of women see themselves represented in the work that we put out there, just 41% of men do. And fewer than half of people living with visible or non-visible disability actually feel positively portrayed in advertising. And what was really, really hard to uncover as part of this research was that half of men who identify as LGBTQIA+ feel like equal citizens in our society. And this was really a really confronting reality to uncover. So whilst we've moved a really, really long way in media since I started out in the early 2000s, we have some critical gaps that we still need to bridge. And closing these gaps isn't just a moral imperative, it's also a commercial one. And we found an Unstereotype Alliance study conducted in conjunction with Oxford University's Saïd Business School found that brands that invest in inclusion significantly outperform the market across all key measures, including pricing power and long-term sales growth. So what this means for us right here in Australia is this is $1 billion opportunity that is just sitting here waiting for us to unlock it. But where do we begin? Well, the greatest revolutions didn't actually start with having all the answers. They started first with a powerful question. And there's one question with so many Australians demanding now to be seen and heard in our media landscape, this one question that we can be asking at every stage of our media response. And that question is, who's missing? Who's missing in our audience research? Who's missing in our partnerships, in our partner selection? Who's missing at every stage of our thinking, from strategy right through to our media buy? And so to share a little bit more about the transformative power of this question, I'm thrilled to welcome award-winning disability rights and diversity consultant, Sarah Shams, to the stage. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you so much. How are you guys doing after lunch? I think you guys are actually pretty good with your attention, so well done for still sticking around. As you can see, I'm built a little bit differently, and some assembly is required every morning. So, I was born disabled, and growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, I saw no one like me. Not in media, not on the runway, not in the glossy magazines, or in leadership roles. And that really impacted what I thought of myself and what I thought I could achieve. And I certainly did not meet the beauty standards of tall, blonde, and leggy, though not many people do fit that. So when you don't see yourself represented, you don't feel like you belong anywhere. So disability was either a person who needs to be pitied, or someone who is a patient. Disability was a cautionary tale, or an over-the-top story of inspiration. And none of it reflected my reality. Now, fast forward to today. So that was in the 90s, early 2000s. Fast forward to today. So last week, I was doing a bit of grocery shopping, and I was looking for that perfect broccoli, head of broccoli for a stir fry. And just as I found one, and I was going to put it in the bag, I feel a tap on my shoulder. And I'm like, oh no, she wants this broccoli. And she says to me, well done. And I'm like, that's it, she definitely wants this broccoli. She's like, congratulations for finding that broccoli. But then she continues, because I looked confused, and she continues to say, well done, you're so brave for being here. And I thought, what do you mean? I was still confused. What this was, folks, was she was congratulating me for being out and about publicly in my disabled body, for being out and about doing my groceries. Now, whilst it may seem like a compliment, and look, a part of it may have been a compliment, what it tells you more is how people still perceive disability, of how they think what we can achieve and what our worth is. To praise me for doing my weekly shop, it's not a compliment. It's a reminder that society doesn't expect me to leave the house, let alone thrive. So growing up, not seeing myself represented, and then being praised for my grocery shopping, tells me there is so much we need to change about what is happening today still. And moments like that are small and profound, but also it can tell you that inclusion can make a difference. People with disabilities make up 21% of the population, and only 2% of us appear on our screens. And of that 2%, we're still shown as being patients, as a person who just needs help, and it's never an intersectional lens. And that's why I began modeling. That's why I began modeling, and I began creating, and I began acting, because I wanted to challenge those narrow stereotypes and the narrow narratives, to show that a disabled woman of color like me on these robot legs is worthy of being seen. But and I was involved in the Shift 20 initiative, which also made me believe that I could be a lead in a show in an ad, which was absolutely brilliant. And I have experienced the first-hand inclusion can have, the positive impact that inclusion can have. But I realized, being in that marketing and creative spaces, that there is a lot of work to be done to change and shift the culture behind the camera. So I launched Ethmobility, a consultancy helping brands move beyond tokenism and embrace authentic inclusion. Through this work, I learned 3 things. First of all, when you embrace and co-design your campaigns, your work, narratives shift. Audiences see authentic representation and stories, and biases begin to erode. Systems shift, so workplaces, campaigns, and products become more accessible and representative that perform better as well. And finally, the opportunities multiply. Instead of the one-off inclusion moments, we create pipelines of talent and leadership that reflect the communities we serve. Now, a new study, literally we're talking June 2025, shows that more than 3/4 of Australians implicitly stereotype people with disabilities as being incompetent. And guess what? Poor media representation has a huge role to play in that stereotype and that perception. And that's why every single one of you sitting in this room, and let me tell you, I love to see the age diversity in here as well, because that's what we need, that every single one of you have the potential and the opportunity to create systemic change that is so desperately needed within the media landscape. Everyone can make a difference. It might be going through your media strategy, looking at how you engage with culturally and linguistically diverse audiences. There's a lot of little changes that you can make that snowball into a huge impact for who's missing.
Thanks, Sarah. And so inclusion isn't just the job of our people and culture departments. It is about all of us, and it's every campaign, it's every brief, and every single day. So that's why today we're asking every single person who's here in this room, no matter what your role, please do scan and pledge to ask who's missing on every single brief that you work on moving forward. You can also opt in to receive more information on how to embed the question into your day-to-day and into your workflow, and also find out more about the amazing partners that you can work with in our industry and collaborate with on your solutions. So let's use our collective power to build a more inclusive and representative media landscape.
Thanks, guys, but not quite finished. Give me 30 seconds and we'll get there. So I want you to ask yourself, is inclusion and co-design a part of every single stage of your work? Are you authentically representing people with disabilities and other marginalised groups? It's not just about what's in front of the camera. Are your project plans inclusive? And is your campaign accessible from the start, or is it only an afterthought? Because when we aren't included in the places where you live, work and play, and on your screens, we are left in the dark. So my invitation to you is really simple. Wherever you have influence, strategy, content, leadership, or community, keep asking who's missing, and please act on that answer. When you do, you're not only changing what's on our screens, you're also dismantling the outdated expectations, like my broccoli achievement, changing lives, and creating opportunities that ripple far beyond your organization. Thank you.